She's a mama, a wife with a story to share. Right over coffee, find hope and repair. From heartbreak to healing, through Christ she's free. Your past don't define you, be who you're meant to be. Right over coffee, where healing begins.
Hey guys, welcome to Right Over Coffee. My name is Elizabeth. This is my tribe. This is Lisa, Debbie, and Adriana at the end. We are going to do this podcast a little bit different today. We're going to talk about the last two podcasts that we have been doing over the last couple of weeks. So please join us as we answer some really hard questions and get their perspective of what grief means to them, whether it is a broken relationship or a broken trust. All right, Adriana, can you share a season of life that changed you, what you feel you lost?
Okay, a season that changed me. I'm pretty young, so I mean, you're like, how many seasons has she actually had? Let's see. I could start with the loss of my mother. I was 21 then. I know I look 21 now, but I was 21 then. I was in undergrad getting my biological science degree with a concentration in pre-veterinary medicine. And I just remember that day, she called like we usually do. We talked every morning. And she just told me have a good day. And I went and did my 17 credit hours because I was crazy, y'all, taking 17 at one time. And then I just reached out to my dad. I'm like, hey, Dad, I'm here. I can't get Mom on the phone. And that's when I was told that she went to the doctor. They had to call the ambulance out, and she went to the emergency room. So by then, I was an hour and 30 away from my mom. I drove to go see her, but by the time I got there, she was already in a medically induced coma. They thought that with that, they put her on a ventilator because she couldn't breathe. And they thought that in like 3 to 4 days, she'd be up again. So my dad told me to go back to college, was what I did. How it changed me a lot. Like I went from being happy-go-lucky and not worrying about what the world, did, because, I always had my mother, to like having to do it all on my own. As like a young 21-year-old, I know like it took a toll because she was in a medically induced coma for an entire month. So I had to take like a hiatus from school. But great, and then I had to take over like full time raising a six-month-old. She was 6 months. Then my niece, and having to sit through that whole situation. I had to plan the funeral. I had to dress her. I had to do her makeup, with practically no help from my family at all. So, I guess there's a lot of broken trust going around with that too. So even now, I don't really speak to my family because of the way they did what they did. What I felt like I lost, I feel like I lost a lot of moments without my mom. Like I got married without my mother. I graduated. I was a first-time generation college student to get a bachelor's. So she died one semester before I graduated. I went on to get my doctorate, which she didn't get to see. When I was in high school, my mom helped me become a veterinarian. Like she helped me find places to work, places to get my hours, because you have to have hours and you have to have the classes, of course. And then it's very hard to get into vet school. So me getting into vet school and she wasn't there was really, really hard. I took a hiatus. Once I got in, I took a hiatus. So instead of me starting that year, I waited a whole year before I started. And what I learned from that situation was I still started a little too soon. My first year there, I did good on my first semester. My second semester, I went through a major depressive state where I had stopped eating for like 2 to 3 months. And nobody could figure out the trigger. And so now I got diagnosed with major depressive disorder, something I didn't have, and high functioning anxiety, which I still battle with today. But other than that, I felt like I lost my sanity. I lost the security of being in a world by myself. Like, yes, I still have my father, but you know, you always call your mom. Because I know that first year I was, you know how you go to the, what do you call it, doctor? Gynecologist.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting in the gynecologist and they're asking me all these questions like, oh, do you have anyone in your family that has this or high blood pressure or this or that? And like, I'm just crying because I couldn't answer the questions because, you know, everyone knows you pick up your phone and it's like, okay, mom, they said this. Do we have anybody that this and who? Like, she knew all those questions and those answers to those questions. So that first year was really hard for me. Man.
Well, I appreciate you sharing with us. Thank you. So we're going to go to question 2. Debbie, what does grief mean beyond losing a person?
What does grief mean beyond losing a person is, I feel that grief can be like you missed an opportunity that you should have taken, but you didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So later on, you realized you were grieving over it. And it does play a psychological game with me. And so that's how I feel.
Okay.
Not short.
No. Again, there's no long, short, any wrong answers. Lisa, is there something you wish you had said but never did?
Yes, I'd be with my brother. He passed in December of last year, and we hadn't talked for 3 years. And I wish we would have a conversation of just making peace with each other, because he was mad at me about some things related to his daughter. And she tried connecting with him, and I gave her his number, and he didn't like that. He didn't want to have much to do with her, unfortunately. And he got very mad at me, and we had a very, very strong, disruptive conversation in December of 2022. And he passed away this past December, and we didn't really talk. I would send him happy birthday wishes, and he didn't respond back. He would talk to my sister. Barely talked to one of my other brothers. But I wish I had said, look, I want to make peace with you, and I want to be in your life, and I want to be a part of your life, and I want to see how you're doing and everything. So yeah, that's what I.
Well, I know that's got to be painful, and I know that's hard for you to share that. So I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go to Debbie. Question number 4. Was there a moment you realized you were grieving something you couldn't explain?
I feel that when my bonus nephew committed suicide almost 2 years ago, I was grieving him because I couldn't put a handle on why somebody would take their own life. Why wouldn't they reach out to somebody that could help them, and the circumstance could have been different. But that's just what I've had a hard time. It comes and goes. I grieve him, like right now I'm grieving him because it's coming up on the anniversary of his death. I'm grieving a lot of things right now. That's the main thing, is when someone commits suicide, there's no closure.
There isn't.
And that's
Absolutely.
hard.
Adriana, do you find it harder to say I'm sorry or I forgive you?
I wanted to say I forgive you.
Why?
Because at my age, which again is not that much,
Mm-hmm.
I have this mentality that, you know, I know you guys, and I know you guys know things about me that, you know, would like hurt my feelings away or whatever. And I feel like I give consideration, and I feel like you guys give it too. But when I'm around people that I held those same standards to, I'm like, why are we, especially if it's something like traumatic, I'm like, why would you do that? Like, it's hard to forgive you because you knew what you were doing. Even if you said, like, I'm sorry, I'm like, but what made you approach that way? Or because you knew that's not how I react to things. And I'm like, why would you approach that way? Or was it because you were around a certain person, so you thought it was okay, or you were trying to look cool at my expense. And so it's really hard to forgive people like that, especially when I'm like, you already know who I am. I've been in your corner. You've been in my corner. And I would have never done that to you, basically.
Okay. Debbie, do you find it hard to say I'm sorry or I forgive you?
I find it hard to say like her, I forgive you, but I'm working on it. Because saying I'm sorry seems to be, sometimes you say it, but you really don't mean it. Because, it's a little smooth out better, but we shouldn't say I forgive you or I'm sorry if you don't mean it.
Very true. Lisa, which
Um,
one do you find hard?
I forgive you. That one's really tough. I mean, kind of bouncing off what Adriana was talking about. If someone's saying things about you that you know are going to hurt you, and you're like, oh, I'm supposed to forgive them for this, and it's tough. So definitely forgiving someone is a little bit tougher. I think once you do it, you do feel a little bit more freer, and you will generally feel better. But I definitely feel that one's one that hits with me.
So I think for me, it would be I'm sorry. Because the I'm sorry means that I have to hold myself accountable. Who wants to do that? We're 48.
6, 7.
29.
I mean, it's harder for us, but with the kids, we can have them say I'm sorry because we're trying to teach them hold accountability. But for us, I know for me, ladies, it's hard for me to hold myself accountable. It's like I don't really want to. And something I've learned with forgiveness isn't about accepting what they did. It's letting it go inside of you so you can move on. There's no forgetting about it though. It's all about so you can heal, so you know how to handle it next time, so you know what boundaries to put up, so you know what to say next time. It's not an outwardly expression, it's more for an inwardly, especially for as Christians, we need to forgive. I mean, God, look at Jesus. He forgave the people that beat him to death, put him on a cross. And he was asking his Father to forgive them. And it's hard for us humans because we all have human tendencies. Lisa, is there something you need to forgive yourself for?
Ooh, that's a good one. Maybe just not keeping in contact with relatives, especially my mom's side, because multiple relatives passed away last year, and you have that kind of regret that you didn't contact them or you weren't in more contact with them. That's what I feel like I need to forgive myself for. It's tough though, because you want to reach out to them, but they might not know who you are. I mean, they kind of do, but they haven't heard from me in a long time.
Yeah.
So that's something that I need to probably forgive myself for, but it's really tough.
It is.
Yeah.
It's hard because then it's like we hold ourselves to a higher standard, our own selves. Like we're the worst critics on our own selves.
Right.
So that makes it harder. Adriana, did you feel pressure to move on too quickly?
Yes.
Okay.
Like when what I said about my family felt, my dad's side of the family felt as if my mom was very sickly all the time. She had asthma, bronchitis, and things like that. So in their mind, they were just like, oh, it was just something normal. I don't understand why you're so upset. Even to this day, I still grieve her. But when people ask, oh, when did she pass? And I tell them, they're like, oh, well, don't you think you should be over that by now? And I'm like, it never gets better. Even though, like, I've had someone say at my job recently, was like, oh, how does it feel? And I'm like, I'm confused with what you're asking me. And she was like, how does it feel to live without your mother? And I'm looking at her like, why would you ask me that? And then she was like, yeah, because I love my mother and I just wouldn't know what to do. And I'm like, I wouldn't have asked you that if you were in my situation, especially in front of like my coworkers.
Yeah.
So like it forced me to like, instead of like going off and being upset and flipping tables, it forced me to be like graceful with it, but I was not happy.
So I know that we went over this just a second ago with, about the whole not speaking, if there was something, we didn't say. So the next question would be, how do you sit with loss when there's no closure? I'm going to give that to Lisa.
That was really tough because I really didn't have that closure with my brother and his death. It was sudden. He was ill. He had been ill for a while. He was on dialysis for almost 8 years, and he was still working. I kept in contact some with his wife, but my sister kept in contact, and she would tell me what was going on with him and whatnot. And it's tough to sit with it because you're like, well, there's all those what ifs. What if we had talked to each other? What if we had connected again? And so it's kind of hard to have closure with that. I mean, I miss him a lot. I wish we had kept in contact more, but it's really tough to sit with that because there really isn't a closure for me.
Right. Well, that takes a lot of courage.
Yeah.
To do that. Debbie, how do you sit with loss when there's no closure?
It's not easy because especially when the suicide's involved, you don't have closure. You wonder all these things. And it's just hard. It's just, Stephen's going to have committed suicide almost 2 years ago. I'm mad at him. I wish I knew how I could have helped him. Maybe I couldn't have. I wish that I could have talked to him right before he passed. It's just, suicide is not an easy thing at all.
No, it's not.
And so it's hard. That's what I'm saying. So that's it.
Okay. Adriana, what fear keeps you from speaking your truth? If you have any.
I was like any truth?
Like what?
Like any truth?
I think whenever we're talking about grief or loss, have you been scared to talk to anybody and actually tell your side of the story because you're afraid that maybe they won't listen or maybe they've said too much and you just feel like, you know what, I guess I don't matter, so I'm just going to let it go.
I have a counselor that I do that because I pay them for that. But I'm guessing like I don't speak to my father much about, when my mom passed, or my niece that I currently take care of. And it's not so much as that I'm afraid. It's just that I guess I feel as if like they're not as strong as me. Because even when I was planning my mother's funeral, my dad was like MIA. Like I had to call everyone, I had to get everyone together. I made the obituary, I dressed her, I did her makeup, I did her hair, and then had everything set up. And my dad was just like crying. And April's coming up. When April gets here, they would have been married like 43 years.
Wow.
So, and then it was already hard for him anyway because she died, I think, March 8th to March 15th. His birthday's March 15th. And so it was very hard for him too on that too.
So, for all three of you, if you could release one regret today, what would it be? Debbie?
I regret that when my best friend had cancer, I didn't know it was so bad that I was in college at the time at my old age of 53, and she wanted me to come see her. But I didn't take that opportunity because I said, oh, spring break is coming. I can go down. And that's the regret I have. And it's hard. I've been thinking about her a lot lately. It's grief. There's no end to grief. It just takes a break. And then all of a sudden you're doing fine and boom, you're in a grief. You're grieving. And then all of a sudden you're doing fine and then, so there's no end to grief. It's just shielded, I guess, or not at the surface at that moment. But anything can trigger it, in my opinion.
Adriana?
I guess my regret, I don't really want to say I regret it, but I do. Like, yes, I was going through college and trying to, get this degree and things like that, but I did lose a lot of moments with my family. And so when mom passed in 2018, my grandmother had Alzheimer's and was in a home. And by the end of that year, December, I lost my grandmother as well. And I couldn't spend as much time with her because I was in college. And so I didn't get to spend as many things. I only got to spend her birthdays with her, which was in February. She was born on Valentine's Day. But other than that, I didn't get to really spend much time with her. I got to watch her forget me as the years went on and on. And then she passed in that December. Yeah.
Lisa?
I think this one has to do with my husband that passed away in 2018. He told me he was showing me the warning signs of his heart attack, but we didn't think that's what it was because we thought his heart was in good shape. He was a diabetic, and we thought his heart was in pretty good shape. He had told me that. He said, "Don't worry, my heart's fine. I've had stress tests. They came back okay." And then the day that he passed away, he actually started having pain going down his left arm. He was having, he thought, indigestion and acid reflux, but we now think that that was partly the signs starting from his heart attack. And then they worked on him for a long time. My daughter found him, and I regret not seeing those signs because my dad had had a heart attack, and so we know what, I kind of had a feeling of what was going to happen. I know what to look for, but I didn't think that's what it was with him because he thought his heart was in good condition. And when the doctor took the clot out, it was at 98% blockage, and which is really, really, really high. And I regret that I didn't see the signs, and I could have gotten him treatment earlier than I did.
So after the regret question, the next question is, what would it look like if y'all gave that to God?
I think we would have more peace and comfort, the comfort from the Lord. But I think if we gave it to God, He would give us that peace that we needed to deal with the situation.
Yeah, I think it'd give us more peace and comfort knowing that you did what you could, and you were there, and you were there by your loved one's side. But I think it would give us comfort knowing that you tried and you did what you thought was right, and give us that peace.
Okay. Adriana?
My issue isn't giving it to God. My issue is leaving it with Him.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yes.
So,
Because we keep taking it back.
Yeah. So that's the only thing. I mean, because everything, like, I gave that to God, you know, He was, and I can say this confidently, that He was there with me through the whole thing with my mom. Like, and my university, my institution, yes, I took a hiatus, but they expected me to go to the campus, at the drive to the campus, to take a test the day she died. And I explained to my professor that, hey, you know, they're about to put a trach in my mom. Is there any chance I can take it online? And he told me no. And so I had to go and take the test in his office. And by the time I left his office and drove back down, my mom had passed by the time I made it back.
Oh my.
Yeah. But before that, before I left, because she wasn't moving, they had to do like a spinal tap. That's why I said I know God was there the whole time, because I was able to hold her hand. I was able to feel her like grasp my hand before I left. And then when I came back, she was gone.
So last question for you ladies. How do you carry loss and still live fully? Debbie?
How do I carry on and still live fully? Well, I think when I think about the people that died, I try to have joy because most of them are in a better place. I can't say all of them are, but and you just have to keep living for those who are alive and build those relationships and spend time and make memories. It's hard to carry loss though, but it's even probably not good for you to not move on, but you still grieve at the same time and you never forget.
Right, Lisa?
Because I know my ones that have passed, especially my late husband, he would want me to keep going. And he gave me that sense of keeping going and moving forward before he even passed away. He even told me, he even had, I don't know if it was a revelation or what, but he said, I'm not going to make it to 60. And I was like, wow, why are you saying that? And he knew his health was in bad shape. But I know he would want me to keep going, and that's how I keep my life to live fully. And so my brother, I'm sure he'd want me to keep going too. And that's the main thing I focus on is you need to keep going. It's going to be tough some days. You're going to miss them dearly, but you need to keep moving forward.
Yeah. Adriana?
So how do I carry loss and still live fully? I'm still working on it.
That's as honest as we can all get.
Yeah.
At least she's
We're always
honest. At
working.
least she's
Yeah.
honest about it,
Awesome.
guys.
I'm not that old, so I still do my trial and error.
I think all of us, no matter how old or young we are constantly doing our own trial and error. But the reason why I did this podcast like this is because this is my tribe. This is what keeps me going every day. These women, we're missing a couple, but they're the ones that I can come to. They're the ones that if I need to superly duperly laugh and I need somebody to get me out of my head, I have one right there at the end. If I need somebody to give me my truth and to speak it, I have this one, and vice versa. Let's just put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Debbie, who is so full of life and so full of grace and has these experiences that we, I think as a group, can say that we can learn from her. So when one of us falls, it's not just one of us, it's all of us are falling within each other. So you as a person are allowed to grieve no matter what season you're in, no matter if you've never experienced death, but you've experienced a breakup. That's still part of grief. That's still a part of loss. So you're allowed to grieve that. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Do not let anybody tell you otherwise, because you're allowed to have that. Next is you're allowed to heal. And again, this is where I'd say in all of my podcasts and all of my videos, it is your choice how you want to heal. I can't make you, Lisa, Debbie, Adriana, we can't make you heal the way we heal. It's totally 100% up to you. And lastly, you're allowed to live again. Hearing these beautiful stories from these beautiful women, I'm sure there's a part of them that don't want to live again. Because they're never going to hear that mom tell her how much she loves her again. They're never going to hear the husband say, I love you, keep going. They're never going to hear the nephew say, help me. And I'm not going to hear my dad tell me, you're doing it, you're doing okay, you got it. We all have our heal, we all have our way of healing, and we all have to be able to live. And again, that's in the book I wrote, Unspoken Goodbyes, there's a part of it I don't like the word acceptance. I don't think I've ever liked the word acceptance. But I do like the word new normal. She doesn't want to accept that her best friend, her love of her life, died. She doesn't want to accept the fact that her nephew died. She certainly doesn't want to accept the fact that her mom died. None of us want to accept anything. But you know what we can do is we can have a new normal. However that happens. So ladies, thank you so much for doing this with me tonight. I appreciate it. We'll do it again after we get better. A little funner.
Mm-hmm.
Laugh a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should do something on laughter. I don't know. All right, you guys have a great time. Thanks for listening.
Right over coffee, where healing begins.